With millions of people and businesses relying on digital platforms daily, cybersecurity has become a major concern. To stay ahead of threats, both businesses and government institutions must strengthen their defenses. The UK-Nigeria Cybersecurity Inward Trade Mission is one initiative working to bridge this gap by building partnerships and driving solutions to boost digital security. Joining me to discuss Nigeria's cybersecurity landscape and the role of international collaborations is Samuel Obido, Chairman of Tech Innovate Group. Enjoy the chat. Thank you so much, Samuel Obido, Chairman of Tech Innovate Group. Thank you so much for joining us on Tech Trends.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Now, Samuel, you'd agree with me that Nigeria's digital space is, growing fast. We have over 100 internet users, 100 million internet users. We have so many startups and tech companies doing amazing stuff in the space. But this growth comes with increased cybersecurity risks, right? From your perspective, what are some of the biggest cyber threats we are facing currently?
So if you look at most nations, especially in Nigeria, we're going through a digital phase, and this is quite interesting. If you look at cybersecurity, we can break it into three elements: people, process, and technology. On the people side of things, social engineering is quite a key threat around what information is publicly available for people to research and use as attack surfaces into organizations. Secondly, insider threats. So what we're seeing is people can be paid to give out information or even try and consider to do internal frauds. So that's quite a big issue from the people side of things. Let's talk about the process. A lot of companies, people come in and leave. The joiner, mover, leaver policy. Do we know how many staff or previous employees still have access to our systems? Auditing. How often are these systems being audited in terms of to make sure that they're secured, password correct, and configured to the right settings? And lastly, we talk about technology. So we see a lot of systems that are out of date. They're not patched or updated properly. They're not configured to the right security configuration. So these are some of the challenges and cyber threats which we are seeing in the ecosystem.
Yeah, people, processes, technology, those are the key items you've mentioned, right?
That's correct.
But highlighting, paying attention to the weaknesses, the vulnerabilities in cloud security. We've seen reports ranking Nigeria 7th globally for mobile malware attacks, and many organizations have experienced so many cloud security breaches. Why do you think Nigeria, I know it's not peculiar to us, but why do we remain such a target for such threats, attacks?
Sure. I would say if you look at for example, the fintech ecosystem in Nigeria, massive growth. So most of the unicorn out of Nigeria, out of Africa, comes from Nigeria. And if you look at also the mobile money ecosystem, and a lot of government services are being digitalized. So from an economy point of view, Nigeria sounds as a perfect target for sort of attackers to come and try to fit into. So I think a combination of the fintech ecosystem and also the growth in the digital ecosystem then makes us a prime target for external actors to come and try and see if they can sort of have a go at the systems and targets.
Well, you just mentioned, the good side, right? But what are the gaps that we need to address? What are the gaps that exist? The problems that we need to fix?
Sure. If you look at cybersecurity, let's start at the national level. We have the National Cybersecurity Framework or policy, and that document needs to be implemented. So that's through the NCCC, Nigeria Cybersecurity Coordination Center, on the ONSA and NSA. So firstly, the documents and the policies in that documentation needs to be implemented. Secondly, from an awareness point of view, are we as citizens aware of the NDPA, for example, or what cybersecurity regulations or even reporting bodies which we need to report these cyber attacks to? And lastly, from a capacity building point of view, are the government agencies or the people responsible to protect the cyber attacks? Do they have the right technology, training, and skill sets to combat and battle these attacks?
Taking something from what you just said, awareness, right? Because what cybersecurity experts always end up saying is that the people, are the weakest link. It just takes one person, to click on one link and, everything blows up in our faces. But with these challenges that you've highlighted, it's clear that we need stronger cybersecurity measures, be it, policies or even infrastructure that need to be, to address these issues. Now, partnerships like the UK Nigeria's Cybersecurity Inward Trade Mission, which you are a part of, could be of help. So how can it help partnerships like that help Nigeria bridge these gaps?
Oh, sure. So last week or this week, we've just completed the UK-Nigeria cybersecurity trade mission. I must commend the team behind that because we got good cooperation from the British side and also from the Nigerian side. If I highlight sort of three elements, one is around the knowledge sharing. So, for example, if you look at advanced economies, so where they have threat intelligence gathering sessions, industrial workshop, cybersecurity leaders practices, these are sort of ecosystems we can adopt from our point of view. And secondly, from a technological point of view, we can have a look at what best practices, what tools are being used globally, and how can we adopt that in the local environment. And not only adopt that, how can we localize it also from the ecosystem. So from my point of view, Nigeria, as a nation, as a country, should sort of seek international partners also and learn from the best practices, how things have been done, and see how we can implement them and localize them to our local content. So definitely trade missions from the UK and also globally is of great benefit because it takes two things. One thing, saying cybersecurity is an important agenda for the government, which it is, and also a willingness to learn and collaborate in an international and a national level.
Of course, international collaborations are very important. You know, you get to learn from those that have done it better, right?
That's correct.
And seeing as the mission is focusing on, how both private and public sector engagement, emphasizing, B2B connections and B2G collaborations, as business to government, business to business, right? What are some of the cybersecurity concerns unique to, both the private sector and the public sector that we need to address?
Sure, I would say from a private sector point of view, the understanding of the regulation. So earlier in my career, I was part of a working group called E3CC, Energy Cybersecurity Commission, and the aim there was it got together all the group of energy companies in the UK, and then the cybersecurity leaders in those companies, and also the government, for us to exchange on a monthly basis. This is the regulation. We don't understand it. How can you support us and what do we need? And through that, we had workshops with different partners to help us implement some of these policies. So private sector, they might be saying, Sam or Technovate, how do we implement some of these solutions? We need that help. That's number one. Number two, also budget. Now, economy is tight. So especially in terms of solutions built overseas, what local solutions are available to be used, to be implemented within the ecosystem. And lastly, capacity building. Do they have the right skill set and also the right competencies to deliver and use some of these toolings? I was speaking to a CEO yesterday and he said, Sam, I have loads of tools which we've bought, but to be honest, we haven't got the team to use these tools to the right of their capability. From a government point of view, I would say around how do we implement the strategy? We've had a strategy document for a while now. Where is the status of implementation? What have we done? And what challenges, how do we have in terms of implementing this? And also sort of regulatory framework. So the right agencies, are they aware of the right roles and responsibility as far as cybersecurity is concerned?
You're absolutely right. It's not just about, developing the strategies. Implementation, execution is at the key part of developing them. And of course, Nigeria offers great opportunities for cybersecurity companies, but adopting new security measures can be a bit challenging. How can international collaborations help?
That's a very fantastic question. I'll say, firstly, if you look at technological transfers, so what can we learn from global organizations and global countries? How can we get them into Nigeria to run workshops, training sessions? That could be a forum. At a government level, what working groups and what governmental levels relationships can we leverage to see how we can review our policies and learn essentially from how other countries have done it and how we can then adopt it locally, internally. And from a capacity building point of view, there's quite a lot of resources from different national and international certs or cybersecurity agencies which we can be using and start localizing to local content. Those are sort of the 3 points I'll sort of say how we can implement this.
Yeah, it doesn't even end at that. We also need to ensure that the tech companies look inwards, right, to implement some of those frameworks that have been laid out there, because we cannot wait for the government to do all the awareness and the campaigns. Everybody needs to look at the book, go into the books and see what do we need to do to ensure that we are not making ourselves prone to cyber threats. But, looking ahead, right, let's look ahead. What steps should Nigeria take to build a stronger and safer digital environment?
That's really good. What I'll focus firstly will be on the regulation has to be first, because regulation drives a stable framework and it points fingers at people that need to implement it. So this national cybersecurity policy which we have, that needs to be implemented, and a team needs to be responsible for ensuring that companies are adhering to those regulation and policies, working with local legislations and also working with industry experts. Secondly, a more collaborative ecosystem. I would explain. So we do a lot of startup events in Nigeria. How can we start doing hackathons around locally made cybersecurity solution? This does two things. One thing is it starts to solve the Nigerian cybersecurity problem with solutions built internally, and also it then fosters the ecosystem for capacity building. Because if you're building solutions for the ecosystem, that means you need to learn what to do, know how to do it, and you create the boards and environment and jobs. Third thing would be around capacity building. So how do we then reach people around cybersecurity awareness? And I'm sure we're aware about the famous WhatsApp call. You just get a phone call from WhatsApp saying, hi, you've added into a group. Can you share me some 4-digit number to join a meeting? Next thing you know, your WhatsApp has been hacked and it's been used to commit fraud and ask people for money. How do you get cybersecurity awareness campaign at a national level, right? And include digital inclusion. So not just on TV, Twitter, social media, what code media or what radio stations, TV stations can we use to make sure the campaign is all compassing around everyone?
Just going back a little bit, hackathons are really a great idea, and we've seen a couple of them, right? But I guess what we should be talking about is the follow-ups. Once there's a winner, you take home the prize money. After them, what happens? Are they selected? Are they taken somewhere to be groomed and groom the solutions and see how other people can do better? But anyway, we'll keep hoping that all of our ideas and all of the solutions preferred are taken into consideration. Thank you so much, Samuel Wido, Chairman of Tech Innovative Group, for joining us on Tech Trends.
Thank you very much. Bye for now.